Hey. Your heads up. This is part two of the antidote to New Year's resolutions, but it's the antidote and the dote, if there is such a thing, of realizing your dreams, creating your future, getting goals and having them just come into your life, having the success that you deserve. This is a process of making your dreams into reality, basically. If that's important to you, and I know it bloody is, have a listen after this. Hey, welcome to the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. So pleased you're here. Your time is valuable and precious. So what I would like to do is fill that time that you share with me with the most shiny golden nuggets to help improve your life, to get your goals, your wishes, your dreams to come to fruition quicker, bigger, better than you could ever imagine. Using your imagination, using hypnosis, using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, all of that, using all things of the mind. No brain hacks, but real solid processes to deconstruct what people do to become great. And then find the processes that we can install that in ourselves to support you in your dreams and get what you really want in life. Anyway, who am I? I'm Paul Clough, and just going to have conversations with you in this podcast and get you thinking, but also share those processes because we're going to have so much fun. That's it. We're going to have fun for a change because we can sit down for a spell and have more fun than we can stand, creating the world we want to live in and be the person we want to be in that world. The only limitation is your imagination. And you got bucket loads, by the way, bucket loads. Have a listen. You really must.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, and we're back to part two, the antidote to New Year's resolutions. But the thing about this is, yes, this is a two-parter, and it's all about, getting the goals, doing the things in a way that I believe you're going to get your success, and you're going to get that success quicker than you thought possible, better than you could dream of, because you're doing it the right way and a simple way, and you're doing it with the right emotions. Because, as I said before in part one, when you get the emotion, you get the motion. That's the motivation. And the thing is, whilst I say, I don't like New Year's resolutions. In fact, I think they're BS, because at the time of year that you do them, it can be, a highly charged time of your life, the time of the year. It's emotional sometimes. Things are going on. But you do have time. That's one thing you do have, most people have, generalising Cluffy, but we tend to have a bit of time, or we tend to have the inclination to look forward to this new year, don't we? So if you wanted to, you can use what we're talking about here in this antidote, because it's, I believe, the right way to start. And if you get the right start, the right foundation, you have got so much more chance of getting what you want. And when you do it this way, I believe you will get it. So we need to do a little bit of a recap, I guess, from part one. If you haven't listened to part one, I really think you do, because obviously this is part two. That's right. But in part one, we did the foundation work. The foundation work of looking at the areas of our life, all areas of our life, and in those areas, the things that we wanted to be different, to change, to succeed at, to have success, to have a better way of life. Because there's no point in having, a wonderful career at the expense of your relationships. We've seen so many people that have become famous or they've become, I say that word, I don't say it, have become wealthy, maybe beyond their imagination and our imagination, and yet their relationship with themselves or their relationship with others is the pits. It's not a good balance, is it? And it needs harmony, not balance. Balance is, you know, my feelings on balance. I think we need harmony. But the thing is, in part one, we looked at the foundations, all areas of our lives, the contexts, and then we looked at the sub-contexts of our lives. So each one of those, you know, I originally described it as maybe like that old wheel of life that we used to do a long time ago. It's still good though, because I'm using it now, to divide your life up into your different segments: professional, maybe career, relationships, spirituality, health, well-being. You know, there's so many different ones. We've all got individual ones. And then looking at the sub-context of each one of those. Because there are, you know, you have to listen, don't you? Because I broke it all down into context and subcontext, and getting them onto a mind map or getting them onto a piece of paper. Whatever you do, get them onto a piece of paper. Because if you didn't, well, you're going to find it very difficult on this part two, because we're going to refer back to them. And we're going to, this is a continuation of referring back to these things more and more, because they're going to develop. Some will fall by the wayside because they're going to be unmeaningful. If that's a word, is that a word, unmeaningful? Well, their meaning will become You want to let them go. They'll just let go. They'll disappear. Other things will come into your life which will be more important to you. But you'll be able to refine and define them in this process that I'm describing to you. There will be space for new things to be added. So it's nice to know, well, I want you to know, and it was nice when I started looking at this, is that nothing is cast in stone. Because sometimes we feel, well, if I write it down, I've got to do it and I can't change it. Well, yes, you bloody well can. The whole point of this, it is flexible. It is going to morph, as it were, into even better landscapes of those contexts. This is a nice way of putting it, wasn't it, Cluffy? Morph into better landscapes, because then your map of the world will be different. The territory will be different, because it'll be yours specific, because each one of these things is unique to you. Anyway, that's what we did in part one-ish. You really need to listen to it. But having listened to it and having got those contexts and subcontexts in a nice, neat, beautifully written. I mean, some people would do it on a computer. You get lovely mind maps on computers now. I do like handwritten, because I just love handwriting, because I think you get more into it, muscle memory, and you get more thoughts, because it's a less mechanical process. That's all I like. Or I like about handwriting. And I've got such a wonderful handwriting style that no one can read anyway, so it's okay. But anyway, once you've done that, we finished off saying, well, we've set the first domino, because we said this is a bit like a domino rally, and that it's all laid out in front of you now, as the metaphor goes. And that domino rally, if you could imagine it now, coming away from you, and some of it will have side shoots, maybe going up and down bridges, round and round, maybe coming to a dead end, maybe coming to a wonderful an explosion of light and brightness, and continuing going right out of the distance, over the horizon. But you're here at the first domino, and we're setting that first domino. How you want to feel. See, that's the whole point of this. It's all around, as we said before, feeling of the successful completion. What's it going to feel like when I get this thing in my life? When I get my relationship just the way I want it, what's that going to feel like? When I've got my career right on path, when I've got my side hustle really doing, when I'm doing the thing that I love, when I'm finding my passion, what's it going to feel like when I've got my passion and I just know I'm doing it? What's that going to be like? What's it going to be like when I'm so healthy. Damn, I'm healthy. Damn, I'm fit. What's it going to feel like when I'm like that? What's it going to feel like when I'm connected? Connected to other people, connected to, well, whatever your belief is. Maybe just connected to you. What's that going to feel like? When I'm living my life the way only I can imagine what I want, what would that feel like? You see, that's part of the first domino. That is the first domino. And we also said it's not just that successful completion. What's it going to feel like making it happen? Knowing that you're going towards a successful completion. Because that's part of the adventure. We can call it a journey because you have to start and you have to finish. But the finish will never end, by the way. That's why it's an adventure. Because you're not quite sure. Because, as I said, it's going to morph into different things. Because it's pliable. And when you get all of that, wow. And you see that success, I can never say that word, can I? Successful completion and making it happen. Each one of those contexts and sub-contexts will be different. They may be poles apart. So when you think about that inner connection with yourself, that might be different to the feeling of your career, but it might be very similar to that connection with that one-to-one relationship you look for and have. But it'll be subtly different. And that's the wonderful thing about this. We start off with that big general, then we've gone into more specifics and specificity to get those different feelings. And that's what you'll get when you do part one and you get those mind maps and you take another mind map and that creates another mind map or another list, whatever you have, another wheel of life. Each one is like that. Context could be another wheel of life. And as you look at each one, man, you get those feelings. Now, what we said was, or what I was saying was, you're going to knock this first domino over and it's going to set everything into action. And that's the thing, it's action. Because you are the domino. You are making that emotion and motion in every domino, every side shoe, every side hustle, every part of you is part of this domino rally. And without your emotion and motion, your drive, your will to do whatever it takes, that domino rally will just end up in dead ends without it. And this is why we're going for this. So what have we got? We've got a mind map and sub-mind maps, as they were, with each context breaking down into sub-context and other mind maps. It could be a list broken down into another list, or it could be like that wheel of life with each segment as another wheel of life, and if need be, each segment of that as another wheel of life. So the context and the sub-context. We even said you can even go to sub-context, depending where you want to go. Now then, you could have those all laid out, because it could be so many. Lay them out on the floor, lay them on the table, lay them wherever you want, on your bed, wherever. And you could say, right, I'm going to start each and every one of them, because that's what I'm going to do. There's all these things I'm going to do, everything. And I think that's sometimes what happens with a lot of stuff. We just get into that overwhelm. Where do I start? How do I start? Oh man, I've got this and I've started this and I haven't got time for that. And this is, and you'll find probably, there's always a rule that proves the exception, but probably you'll end up stopping on some of them. And probably you'll end up stopping on all of them or most of them, because that overwhelm is overwhelming. And we get those plateaus. As we said before, sometimes we just have that little plateau. Remember that previous podcast episode we did where we get that wonderful rise and then we get that plateau, and we can think of it as a springboard to getting clarity, to moving on again, or we simply stop and let go. Now the thing is, I might be wrong. You might thrive in that overwhelm. But to be honest, it's very difficult to do more than one thing at a time. And it's like spinning plates, isn't it? If you're trying to spin all the plates, some of them are going to slip and fall and crack and break. Maybe the one you really wanted, that bugger broke. And I'm not going to let that happen, because this is where your dreams are the things that are, well, they're due to you in so many different contexts there, or different meanings, because they're your dreams, and because they're yours, you're going to get them, especially doing it this way. Everything is important, but if we do it the right way, we get the right results, the best results. And even if there's a little, I won't call them a failure, but even if there's a little up and down, just know that's part of it. As we saw that domino rally, sometimes it goes down a hill and then they come back up again. Maybe making a lovely picture or something like that. So don't be worried, because the way we're going to do this is going to be so easy. It's going to be so simple, and it's going to be so motivatingly emotional. It just has to happen, because you're going to make it happen because the feeling's inside you. This is where passion is found. You don't have to look for it. You will find it. You see, remember, when things change, then the effects on others without you having to do anything also change. But the thing is, you only sometimes, I say sometimes because, again, generalization, but I believe if you just change one thing, everything else changes. So when you look to change one thing, everything else changes. It has to when you think about it, because it's like part of the bloody domino rally. Change one thing, everything has to change. I can remember, and this is what happens in when I'm working with in therapy with people. I don't work, they can be anxious about this, and be this and that, and I get fearful over here, and I'm not, lack of confidence over there. Do I work on everyone? Absolutely not. We find the one thing, when disappeared, all those other things would disappear too. And the thing is, when you get confidence maybe in one area of your life, that just radiates, ripples into other areas. So you become more confident over here. And I've had so many people who have worked on their fears about one thing and suddenly become really confident and competent in different areas of life, such as their work, their career, their relationships, working with their family, being with their family. But they weren't even working on that. They were working on some bloody phobia of driving or something. Spiders, all that stuff. But that inner confidence suddenly goes, oh, what would happen? It's like your unconscious mind says, what would happen if I use it in these other areas? Wow, now I'm safer. So that's the one thing we're going to do. We're going to find the one thing that's going to make the most dynamic, positive effect on every other part of your life. Whoa, Cluffy, that's a big one. That must be really difficult. Not really, not this way. Because in simplicity, there's genius. You know, Albert Einstein. We follow that. Not too simple, where we miss out a few steps and things like that domino rally, it becomes too wide a jump. So the next domino doesn't hit the one in front. Don't want that. But not too many. So here's the thing. We have to ask a question. What single one thing would make the most difference? And we do it with each context or subcontext. And you'll be surprised, because it's not always the biggest thing that you think of would make the most difference. So you just scan those pages and go, what one single thing in this context? So I'm only going to look at one context at a time. Can't do it to everyone, or we will do everyone, but not at the same time. So you look at this area of your life. What's the one thing in all this mind map, this list, this circle of life that I've written for this one context? What is the one thing that jumps out of this page that says, if I get this, it will make the most and the biggest dynamic positive difference to everything else? And highlight it, and then take it and put it on another piece of paper. So, because what we're really doing is we're going to have a list of each context or subcontext with the one thing of each section, as it were, which would make the biggest difference to that section of your life, that area of your life. So we just repeat it. How long is it going to take? It isn't going to take that long, is it? This is not intellectual stuff, by the way, because your unconscious mind is going to be with you. So when you look at that piece of paper, you're going to go, well, it's either that or that, because they're going to jump out at you. And actually, well, if I got that, that would... Well, no, if I got that one, that would automatically have to change, and all the rest would change. So that's the one. That is number one on this list of this particular part. Got to write it on my piece of paper, like Cluffy said. Highlight it. You don't have to highlight it. You could circle it. You could underline it. You could do what you want. And I'm going to repeat it for everyone. So now I have a list. I have a list of the one thing in every context of my life that I want to have happen that will make the most dynamic change, positive change in that area. Now then, get that one piece of paper with that list on. Can you guess what comes next? Can you? Have a think. That's right. We're going to take that list and ask, if I could only have one, which one of this list would make the most positive, dynamic effect in my life? Now, what I suggest here is that you either get, you know those little Post-it pads you get, little sticky, semi-sticky, they're normally yellow, but now they're in different colours, I believe. But you get little square Post-it, or they get all blend as well, but doesn't matter. Get one of those, little pad of those, or if need be, just get a piece of paper and tear them up into nice little convenient squares that you could write on. And when you look down that list and you ask yourself the question, if I could only have one, which one of these would make the most dynamic, positive effect in my life? And it'll jump out at you. And don't worry, you're not going to get it wrong. You can always come back to it if you want to. This is just an unconscious... it's that one would make... Because if I got that one, all those others would probably change because of that. Well, they would change because of that. And then you write that on one of those Post-it pads or that little piece of paper, and you write with it #1 or number one or one in a circle. That is the number one thing that if you did in your life would not only change all the other main things in every other context of your life, if you think it would just change everything, wouldn't it? And then guess what we do? You ask that question again. Well, that one's gone. So you can cross it out or whatever, put your finger over or do something. If I could only have one of those others which are left, which one would make the most positive effect in my life? Dynamic, wonderful change in my life. And number two would then come into your brain. It jump out. It's really weird. But they do just go, well, I just know that it's that one. You write that on a second Post-it pad, piece of paper, anything. #number 2. Then you do, what else? What do you think you do? That's right, you do it again. Out of those ones which are left, if I could only have one of those, which one would make the most dynamic, positive effect in my life? Write it on that piece of paper, that Post-it pad, number 3. And you carry on. You just carry on till you've got them into a hierarchy. So we call this a hierarchy. So now you know the area of your life that if you changed would make the most dynamic effect on everything else. And as I said, once you get this specificity, but also knowing that when you change this, things are just going to happen in those other areas, because they will. Now, if you want, and I suggest this is a good thing, you put number 1. Just look at number 1. The others are just to the side. I want to focus now. Focus on that very first one. And just ask, maybe, okay, let me think. If I got this now, if I could visualize myself having it now, having this one thing that would make the most dynamic, dramatic, positive effect in my life, if I had it right now, how would that make me feel? And just imagine having it now. If you want to see yourself over there, having it now, and then float out into your body, look through your own eyes, see what you'd see, hear what you'd hear, and feel the feeling. Feel that wonderful feeling of the wish fulfilled. There's one thing that would change your whole life completely. Knowing that I've got it now, what would it feel like? And when you feel it, What word comes to mind that really represents this feeling? Say it out loud or say it inside with passion, feeling, and anchor this feeling with this word. So it could be just squeezing a finger or thumb together, a different one than you've used before, or just touching a knuckle or the inside of a finger, a unique touch, unique pressure. Feel the feeling, set the anchor, and say that most wonderful word that connects this feeling with that touch and everything about it. But not only that, as you feel that feeling and you're setting that anchor, just ask yourself, what belief do I have about myself? About this feeling, about this successful venture, this is successful completion in my life. What belief do I have about myself? And write that bugger down. Write it down. So you've got that little piece of paper. You've got to write the power word down there. That's the first one. Write down that belief. Because we're going to use all of this. Yeah? You might want to say to yourself, why is this so important to me? Because it'll allow me to get this, and this. That's just making it even richer. Because if you haven't quite got that feeling and you say, what's so important? What will this successful completion, having got it now, what's so important about it? Well, it'll allow me to do this and write that down. It'll allow me to have that, write it down. It'll allow me to feel this, write it down. It will affect my life so much, write it down. All on that one little piece of paper. You can just turn it over at the back if you want. And as I have all of that, feel that feeling, power word, anchor word, set the anchor. What belief do I have about myself? And it will come. I am. It's going to be positive. Write it down. So now and you can then put that aside. Shake that off. But if you don't want to shake it off, you don't have to. There's a good feeling. But I like things to be clean. So shake that off, go for a quick walk, take a deep breath, star jumps, whatever you feel like doing, just to shake that off. And then look at the second one and just rinse and repeat. Okay, if I got this in my life, knowing I've got the other one already, but when I get this in my life, what would that mean to me? Why is this important to me? What will it allow me to do to get? And when I've got all of that in my life, how would that make me feel? See yourself doing it, feel it. How would you see the world looking through your eyes, having already got this? What would you hear listening through your own ears, having already got this? And feel that feeling. And as you feel that feeling, what word comes to mind specifically about this feeling that really motivates you, that really anchors you in? And then set that anchor onto a different finger or a different place in your body. And as you really get that feeling and that power word, ask yourself, what belief do I have about myself now, about this feeling? Having got that, what belief do I have about myself? Achieving this in my life. Write all this down on the back of that little post. You can have them on cards, by the way. Yeah. Little cardboard cards, little post-it notes, little pieces of paper. It doesn't matter. Write it down and rinse and repeat. So quick shake of the head, star jump, press up, deep breath, clear the screen, all that stuff that we say. Number 3, and just go through it. So now we have the hierarchy. Not only just got the hierarchy, we've got the feelings that go with it. We've set an anchor that sets each one. We've got the belief that is attached to the successful completion of each one of those. Some beliefs will be the same, by the way, so don't think you have to come up with different beliefs. Some will be different. You get what you get. You might find that they evolve over time because we're going to be revisiting these. And that's why I say it's not cast in stone. So, what happens if I write the wrong belief down, Cluffy? Maybe I got it wrong. It doesn't matter, because when you next come back to it and you go, no, that's not the belief. This is the belief. Change it. Because you can. Because this is you, your passion, your unconscious mind. You're setting positive intentions here. You see, you're setting your intention. And when you set your intention, that's where your focus goes. Yeah? So you've got that. Now all we have to do is we go back to number 1 again. Because we need to commit and schedule. This is the doing part. Now, the whole thing is you're probably in a pretty good state of mind now, a good emotional state, because you're seeing all that stuff. You've had all those feelings inside. You've got those powers. You know those positive beliefs. You know 100% this is yours. You might say, but I can do everything right now. And a very, very, very close friend of mine did something similar to this. And he started off by saying, I'm going to do the first 5 and I could do them all in the first month. But what he forgot was that he has other things in his life that need to be attended to. He had work. He had, this may not have been about his relationship, but he also had a relationship. So he had life that was happening right now. And I just said to him, just notice, add up the amount of minutes and hours you've allocated in the next month, or even just this week, the next 7 days. How much have you allocated to each one? And then add them up. Well, when he added them up, there wasn't time to go to work. There wasn't time to be in that relationship. There wasn't time to even have his dinner, his tea. And this is why I say we're just going to look at the first one first. Because we know the first one will make the most positive dynamic, positive effect, 2 positives there, on everything. So this is when we start with you've now got your, I don't know what you call it, you probably have another journal, but you're going to have a diary. You're going to have your diary because you're going to schedule this stuff out. This is where the plan comes in. Now you start planning what you're going to do to make this happen. Now, we've done this on many episodes. One of them is there's the 5 steps, which I've only just released, #269. But if you look further back, there's things about getting good, firm grasp on your goals. There's having an outcome. There's just go back through past episodes. Also look at the hypnosis tracks and the NLP processes. Where do you get those from, Cluffy? You go to paulcloughonline.com/podcast and you'll get your personal access to 50 plus different processes that I've given to make this happen. And they're free. So don't worry about that. They're free. This is my way of giving to the world. My way of, my way of giving service. I want nothing back. They're there. Cost me money to keep them up on the internet, but they're yours. And you'll find there are lots of key processes you can add to it if you have any issues along the way. But the thing is, what we want you to schedule the smallest step that allows you to keep that feeling of the wish fulfilled. So you look at number 1. And as you look at number 1 and you got your week ahead of you, you go, okay, fire the anchor. Say that word. Think about that belief and say to yourself, what is the smallest step that I can take keeping this feeling? That's what I'm going to do. Write the bugger down and schedule it. When am I going to do it? This is your commitment. This is your intention. I'm going to do it then and then and then. I'm going to allocate and give myself this time. Because if I give myself this time, everything is going to change. Now, there might be 1 or 2 things you have to do in that week. There might be times that you've got to allocate. Now, you may say to yourself, I've also got time to do number 2 as well. And you do exactly the same thing. You look at that card. You look at those values. What's it going to mean to you? You fire off the anchor. Say that belief. Say that power word. And what's a smaller step that I can take to ensure I keep that feeling and move forward? And the reason it's a smaller step, because I don't want the bigger step. Because the bigger step might be overwhelming, and a bigger step, if you imagine that metaphor of the domino, might be just too far away to tip onto the next domino. So we want them as close. And the other reason for keeping them close, and the smaller step, is to keep this motivation going, because each step will be successful. And as you get more and more confident in your ability to, in one way, just allocate the right amount of time, because you're going to look back after the first week, because we've got just some reviewing in a minute, you'll be able to say, well, that was easy. I can actually do a little bit more, because you're working from facts, data, your own personal data. But the thing about this is it's all about then taking action. So not just thinking about this bloody thing. This is where you commit and schedule, set your intention. Because doing it without action is BS. Knowing what to do and not doing it, BS. So once you do it, you start taking action with that feeling. And even when you come to that time of the week where you've allocated this time, just before you do it, fire off the anger, say that word, say that belief. It will give you so much emotion and motion to do that work. So say if you want to quickly go back just before you do all of this and go back to hashtag 269, episode 269, the 5 steps to success, I think I've called it. 5 steps to somewhere anyway. But it is to success, getting your goals. This is what you could use. And then at the end of the week, which is part of the 5 steps, you, not necessarily at the end of the week, but you have to review. And you need to schedule that. We don't just think, well, I'll be reviewing that sometime. No, schedule your time to review, to know how far you've come. So I didn't set enough time. Set more time next week. I did that really easy. I had time to spare. In fact, I did more than I thought. Okay, so now I can plan to do more in that time allowed. Maybe I can bring in number 2. Maybe I can start bringing in number 3. So you're reviewing. And you need that to be on a weekly basis. You can even review in the week. Well, I'm on that second time that I've allocated for this work. Did I do what I was supposed to have done in that first one? Because if not, I've got to catch up. Maybe I've got to try to allocate a little bit more time this week to make sure that I finish at the end of the week where I want to be. Or maybe I was just a total ass and I put too much down. It's a learning curve. It's not failure. It's a learning. So I can get back in step. Being flexible. Oh, there's another step of the 5 steps. And the thing is, part of that review will also be looking at your progress and looking back at those previous notes, those previous mind maps, those previous wheels of life, those previous lists. How are they changing from what you're doing now, what you're achieving now? Have they changed? Have you already got those? Are you already doing those without knowing it? Because that's a great thing. When you realize you're doing something without knowing it, because of what you've done just now has allowed you to do it unconsciously. As I said, you do something here, the ripples of change will go further and farther than you ever think. They'll affect every context of your life. You may even get to the point where you go, that one's not that important anymore. Maybe this is more important. And then you can review and maybe see if that comes into this hierarchy again. And it's fun because every time you look at it, you're looking and feeling, what happens when I get that? How would that make me feel? Maybe when you look at those other ones, you might even say, well, actually, that's not even me. I've realized I've been thinking about that and that's what other people expect me to do. Or I think, generally what happens, I think that's what I'm expected to do and it's not me. Bugger it. I'm going to cross it off. That's not me. In fact, this is more important. Oh, now I found something. This is even more important. Does that go onto my hierarchy list? What will that get me? Do the same process as we did. So it's flexible. It can morph. It can evolve. Is there anything you want to add? Just look at it sometimes. Say at the end of the month, I'm going to review the whole lot again, just for 5 minutes. Is there anything I want to add to this? Is there anything I want to take away? What's even more important? And what you can do, here's a good thing. And I've talked about this before, and this was a long time ago. But just spend 5 or 10 minutes to be wild, to be so blooming out there with that thought of, well, if it never, this is never going to happen. But if it did, I wouldn't mind doing that. I know it's not possible, but if it was possible, that would be even better. And out of that 5 or 10 minutes of being absolutely out there, you're going to start to think and find, wow, this actually is possible. It is not wild. It is not out there. That's me. That is me. That is part of my DNA. That's part of my passion. That's sort of my vision. It's becoming clearer. This is why I'm bucking in the world. Excuse me saying bucking, but you know what I mean. Because you're even committing and scheduling those reviews. And you're leaving this open. Because when those feelings are really being felt by you, you're having the emotion and that motion. Whether you believe in the law of attraction, if you do, you're in that frequency of the wish fulfilled, and the law of attraction, the universe, the multiverse will conspire with you to bring you even better opportunities. If you don't believe in the law of attraction, doesn't matter, still works. And even your unconscious mind just gets it. Because I love this feeling. Your unconscious mind is here to protect you. And when it notices the feelings you're going to get, the protection it's going to give you, the things and the values, because it's going to look at those values and say, these are good values. This is where the passion comes from. Your unconscious mind will look for opportunities. Opportunities that are always there and give you the intuition and the motivation to go take them, grasp them, let them resonate with you, see them, and notice how they just fit into this wonderful world of yours. Because it just works. That's biological. So basically, once you really do this, the multiverse, the universe, the biological world of law, or the law of the biological world, or the law of attraction, has got you covered. And then just rinse and repeat. What does that mean? Well, you look at where you are, look at what you're going to do next week, next month, how close you are to getting that successful feeling. What else is there? Because once you get there, this is not the end. There's always something new and better to strive for. So you're going to commit and schedule time to review, and then do the action. Set the action, commit and schedule it, and then do it. Tune into these podcasts, because whatever happens, you'll be getting even more to support you getting these goals. And that's one thing I finished off here with some of my notes, thinking, well, sometimes I talk about just asking and getting a belief. And I know sometimes we can go blank. If you need help with that, let me know. If you think, well, I really want that, but I don't know what it is, there's something stopping me. Maybe there's this one feeling. Maybe I just need a little bit more confidence. Maybe I'm a bit anxious. Maybe I need a little bit, I need my self-esteem to be where it really needs to be. Well, paulcloughonline.com. Look there, you got the Supreme Inner Confidence. That's what it's there for. That's why I give this massive discount to you, so you can use these programs. I love the confidence program. I think that's the work and the effort I put in and thought I put into it. I think it's really, really effective. I haven't had anyone come back and say it didn't work. Not that I can guarantee that, but it just works. It just seems to work. You got free your life from anxiety. You do that as whichever. Must admit, on that one, the videos aren't a little bit, yeah, well, they're okay. But it's the content and the processes that really just smash it out of the park. Especially, as I say, those in that Supreme Inner Confidence. The processes in there of clearing the past, being in the now, and setting your future. This is all geared around this, what we've been talking about. But even after that, if you need help with your beliefs, if you have something else that says, there's something, I don't know what it is that's stopping me, I need a bit of help with this, I need a bit of help with that, email me, please. Email me at personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. No, that's not it, was it, Paul? It's called, got lost now. It's called feedback at personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Okay, do that personal reply from me, because I'm the only bugger that gets them, because they only come to me. I will reply, but also it will get me to find new things to put into these episodes so you get exactly what you need. But I need your help to do that. Don't be shy. It's good fun. We'll make it simple. And you see, one of the things I wanted to tell you, and I don't know if I have, is that this is a work in progress. And it's always going to be a work in progress, because it's always going to get better. But the thing is, when you do it as a work in progress and you follow this process, it's going to form a habit, a good habit, a good program inside you. And it's just going to mean that that's why things change in other areas of your life, and you'll be starting thinking in a different way as you go through life. And as we make the changes, we're going to notice every change we make is going to generalize into other areas of our life. And that's it. So what do I want from you as payback for this? Because there's a bloody cost to all of this. The first cost. I know what you're thinking now. Shit, I thought it was free. No, it's not free. No, it's not free. Well, yeah, it is. But what I'd like is, first of all, pay it forward. And you can pay it forward in two ways. Pay it forward by, as I say, share this episode and other episodes. Talk about this podcast and share this podcast to everyone you know, please. That is payment. Now, that would be payment enough, but it's not. Because the other payment is, as I said, send me that feedback. Send me the feedback and any critique that you have. The way the podcasts work, run, me, how I present things. Do I go too fast? Do I go too slow? Is there more detail you want? Is there different areas you'd like help with? Because as you look at those areas of your life, you might say, whoa, I don't know how to do this. I know it's important to me, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what the first step is. I don't know what the last step is. There you go. That's a little email to me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. So that's that. Now, that might be payment enough, but it isn't. Sorry, I'm going off in my head. Make sure you subscribe if you would, please. But also, if you ever get the moment and the inclination, if you could do a little review on the platform of your choice, the platform where you get this episode, this podcast, that would be awesome, because I am so grateful of the time you spend with me, and hopefully I'm giving you something that you can really use and will make a difference to your life, because that's what it's all about, making a difference. This is my purpose. This is my passion. I love it, and I want you to love your life too, to find your passion, your purpose, because it just comes, it just evolves. And when it does, you go, it's like a flash of the bleeding obvious. And you go, oh, it was there all the time. I've actually been doing it. So help me to help you. So send me those emails. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Pay it forward in every way, shape or form. Anyway, my friend, let's get and do this. Remember, knowing without doing is total bullshit. Knowing what to do and doing what you know and knowing what you do. Mastery. And you become the master. So it's time to fly, my friends. Share the love. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.